age when empires burned and the world trembled beneath hooves of thunder, one name ruled by fear alone, the Mongols. From the ruins of Baghdad to the gates of Damascus, no city had withstood them. Yet on the horizon of history, a defiant banner rose from the sands of Egypt, not of kings or conquerors, but of slaves turned soldiers. At Ain Jalut, they would face the impossible. The unstoppable would meet the unyielding, and for the first time, the storm would break. Power speaks in ultimatums, and the Mongols spoke in fire. In 1260, a letter reached Cairo, written not in ink, but in the ashes of nations. "We are God's soldiers on earth," it declared, given dominion over east and west. The message was clear: submit or vanish. The world had already witnessed what defiance meant. Baghdad, cradle of knowledge, erased in 7 days. Its river ran black with the ink of drowned books, and red with the blood of its scholars. Aleppo stormed, Damascus surrendered. Nothing stood between the Mongol horde and the fertile Nile. But Egypt was no ordinary realm. It was ruled by men once enslaved, the Mamluks, warriors, forged in discipline, not bloodline, trained to ride, to strike, to die without fear. And from their ranks rose a man of iron will, Sultan Qutuz. When Hulagu's ultimatum arrived, his court trembled. Many counseled surrender. Qutuz saw only death in submission. In a council blazing with anger, he cast aside fear and ordered the Mongol envoys executed. Their heads hung from Cairo's gates. The die was cast. The Mamluks would not wait for the storm. They would march into it. An army is the reflection of a nation's soul. The Mamluks were precision incarnate, masters of bow, lance, and steel. Not nomads, not knights, something greater, a fusion of both. Heavy armor met step speed, and discipline became their shield. Yet Qutuz's boldness defied every rule of survival. Instead of hiding behind Cairo's walls, he crossed the Sinai, marching toward the conqueror. Sand, hunger, exhaustion, all were lesser foes than fear. And then came a twist no chronicler could ignore. The Crusaders of Acre, once mortal enemies, opened their gates, selling food and truce to the Mamluk host. For even the cross feared the shadow of the horseman. Through this uneasy peace, Qutuz advanced into Galilee. His scouts found a valley cut by a spring, Ain Jalut, the spring of Goliath. A fitting name, for here a new David would rise. The plan he forged was a symphony of deception. Bebas, his fiercest commander,
a great threat.
would strike first, then flee. The feigned retreat, an art the Mongols themselves had perfected, but this time it would be turned against them.
They are too many. We cannot
Hidden
fight
in the
them.
hills, Qutuz and his heavy cavalry waited, silent as stone. Night fell upon a world, holding its breath. In the darkness, armor whispered, horses stirred, hearts pounded. They were not defending a kingdom. They were defending civilization itself. And as dawn neared, the trap stood ready.
We must stand together, or all is lost.
We shall not allow these invaders to seize our lands. We will fight for every inch of our home. The desert is quiet tonight.
Yes, a good night for sharpening.
For the Mamluks, discipline was absolute.
September 3rd, 1260. The Mongols crested the ridge and saw Baibars waiting below. Arrows screamed, dust rose, and the first clash tore the morning open. Then, as if broken, the Mamluk line shattered and fled. Kitbuka, the Mongol general, smiled. He had seen this 100 times before. Victory was already in his grasp, or so he thought. He ordered pursuit, the entire army surging into the valley. The hunters became the hunted. From the hills erupted
We will
war
secure
drums.
this pass,
Thunder
then advance through the
answering
valley
thunder.
here.
Out of the trees poured the Mamluk heavy cavalry, an iron tide descending on both flanks. The trap snapped shut. Chaos consumed the valley of Ain Jalut. Steel met fury. Lances splintered. Blades sang. The air thickened with dust, blood, and prayer. Kitbuka rallied his guard, striking hard at the Mamluk left. The line wavered until Kutuz himself threw off his helmet and charged headlong into the storm. His cry echoed through the smoke. For Islam, for Egypt, the Mamluks roared as one, driving the Mongols back. Kitbuka fell, proud, unyielding, and with him the illusion of Mongol invincibility. Silence descended over the field that had devoured legends.
Grain, water, fodder. We have what you need.
And we have the coin to match.
This ridge will provide our archers with an undeniable advantage.
Indeed, Sultan.
Your position is crucial, Baybars.
Yes, my Sultan.
And you, commanders, will ensure every detail is executed. Maintain your positions. Patience is our strength. Hold your positions!
Go! Ready the men.
Charge! For the Horde!
your servant Qutuz against the Mongols!
For Qutuz! For Islam! Charge!
That day, the world learned a truth it had long forgotten. No empire is eternal. Ain Jalut became more than a battle. It was the moment fear itself was broken. From Cairo's citadel, the Mamluks would guard the heart of the Islamic world for 2 centuries more. The Mongol tide had met its shore, and in that valley, where giants once fell, the age of conquest ended, and the age of courage began.